So over the last few weeks, as you know by now, I've been covering body image quite extensively, and that's involved a lot of research. It's involved a lot of reflection on my relationship with my body. Um, so today's video is actually about the latter. It's about my relationship with my body. I feel like it's important to get on film the processes that I go through, as well as explaining the causes of these processes, because sometimes hearing about the experience of someone else has a bit more of an impact and is a bit relatable. I've noticed over the last few days or week or so that the level of attention and the level of focus I've been putting on my body has increased, and with that has come a very fragile, quite unpredictable up and down emotional response. Now, I've touched on exercise and the relationship with body image a few times in the previous articles. It's something that I'm going to go into in a lot more detail soon, but it's completely relevant. I enjoy exercise and I enjoy going to the gym, and as a result, my body changes. Now, I try and take a scientific approach to this process, a rational approach, a case of trial and error, but every so often the same cognitive distortions and emotional responses that I used to have years ago to a much stronger degree kind of resurface. Now, I experienced this recently when I went from feeling a sense of achievement with where I am. I'm currently at a fat loss stage, and I basically got to a kind of body weight that I was aiming for, and I felt really good. And then probably a day after, so 24 hours after this high and this sense of feeling good and this sense of accomplishment and sense of pride, it dipped and had the opposite effect, and I felt like I was some kind of failure. I felt like I was incapable, that I was doing something wrong, that I was disappearing. Now, for men, this is quite a common thing. I've mentioned muscle dysmorphia previously, and it's not easy to talk about, but I think it's important to talk about this idea that even though I'm fully aware that my body weight is the same as it was a day before, or going in a healthy direction in terms of what my goals are, even knowing that, the irrational part of my brain started to tell me that I was losing all the progress I've made over God knows how many years, and that I was just going to disappear, that I was skinny, that this was a huge and noticeable change, and as a result of that, my sense of self-worth started to drop. You'll probably notice that I'm talking in the past tense, and that's due to being able to kind of pull myself out of this spiral quicker than I've been able to in the past. And now how I did that was to really focus on rationalizing what it is that was going on with my body, to take in an approach of fascination with the changes that were occurring and not linking that to success or failure, which is a big thing, not linking that to my self-worth, not catastrophizing and seeing this as some huge thing that is irreparable and I'm never going to come back from. Part of that was to look at the worst case scenario, quote unquote, which would be okay then, what happens if this is founded? What happens if this is factual and I'm just going to disappear and become skinny? What is wrong with that? And of course there's nothing wrong with that. This is the perspective of the conditioned mind. This is the perspective of a mind that's been conditioned by society that tells you that you have to look a certain way. So the core of this recent problem and this recent experience was actually coming from, I'm not on track, I'm a failure, because irrationally my body is approaching an aesthetic basis or a kind of composition that doesn't match this idea I've got in my mind of perfection. In these situations, and if you find yourself in a similar position, the knowledge of where the root of these issues come from is always really useful. But you also need to exercise a lot of self-care and a lot of self-compassion, to be able to really pull yourself out of that and to rationalize and to start, I guess, reconnecting with the body, not from a place of an object that looks or doesn't look a certain way, but as an extension of you. I know I use the term self-care fairly frequently, and I don't want to just dilute the meaning of this term. But in this situation and in this example, the way I used it was to, as well as pulling me out of this kind of spiral and rationalizing and changing the kind of thinking processes, I didn't beat myself up for having these thoughts in the first place. And I kind of attempted to, put an arm around myself and kind of reassure myself that A, it's fine to have these kind of thoughts. B, it doesn't mean that they're the truth. And that's absolutely okay, and it's understandable. There's a reason why this happens. And as I've said many times, that reason is a society that we live in. Any of you guys watching this have experienced similar recently? Even if you've experienced similar, having read some of the previous articles or read, watched or listened about body image elsewhere, and then perhaps added that I should or I shouldn't feel this way on top of that, I think is just a reminder that these things arise as they do, and it's how we respond to these kind of internal processes that really matters. And a compassionate response and a response that aims to rationalize your situation is always the best route. As always, thank you very much for watching this video, and I know I promised the body image and Buddhism article soon. I promise you it's on the way. I'm working on it very slowly, but it will be there hopefully early next week, and I'm excited to share that with you. So have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.